prefer the redo that will kick? Take two. Let's take two, okay. I think you all know Percy. Percy spent a year with us on a one-year challenge. Percy is moving on back to Johannesburg, and I'd just like to ask you a few questions, Percy.
Okay.
I know that Port Elizabeth isn't the first city that you have lived in. You've been in Johannesburg. You've also travelled to the east, I believe, and also to Canada.
To America.
So why don't you tell us about those trips? What was the purpose?
Yeah, okay. My first trip was I started traveling after I became a disciple. I was a very adventurous young disciple. So there was a team that was being sent to go to the States to learn about starting the youth camp. And by God's grace, I was chosen to go to learn from the Americans how to do the youth camp here in South Africa and then come and establish it. So that's how I got to go to the States. And then I got to go on a Hope Youth Corps Durban in 2014, and that sparked an interest for me to go to the Philippines for another Hope Youth Corps. And the adventure in me always develops. It's always there, but God always structures it for His kingdom and His glory, which I'm grateful for.
Oh, that's true. And you've done a really great job with the youth here.
Oh, thank you.
So I think the training has certainly helped, but apart from the training, you've just got an amazing heart for ministry, for the mission, and you've spent an amazing time on campus. What do you remember? What are the highlights from your time on campus?
On campus. I'm from Joburg, and people in Joburg are they're all about, disclaimer, I love Joburg. I'm the biggest fan of Joburg, but they are very focused on money and achieving and success and all of that. And it was quite refreshing to come to a place where everyone sort of has somewhat a desire to get to know God. They seek out God in small scales or in big scales, but everyone was open, and it was refreshing for me. Like, people of all color, from all places, are open to just having a conversation about God and letting me share my faith, and that was very refreshing. I mean, I don't have an accent that people can be like, oh, what she's saying is interesting, but so it was just really encouraging that they just simply wanted to hear me share my faith. So those are the biggest highlights on campus.
Amen.
And obviously spending time with the campus guys was amazing.
Okay. And what do you think sets the PE Church apart? What do you remember us for? What will you remember us for?
Okay. I think with my background and the way that I grew up in general, I'm very truth-based. I love the truth, and I believe the truth will set you free. But I think there's an aspect of God that I've never understood, which goes very hand in hand with truth, which is grace. Mm-hmm. And I think I learned so much grace, and I think learning grace has given me a holistic view of who God is. He's not just truth, He's also grace. And I think a lot of individuals here in PE, especially in the church and the family, from the first family that I stayed with to the Trollips being so kind after my many mistakes with the car, and I mean, a whole Jaguar people. But so I think just God's grace, and I think also just having the men in the church play their role in being my father figures taught me something about God that I'd never known before, and I'm so grateful for the time that the men in the church have taken to father me.
Amen.
Yeah.
The car crash wasn't the worst we've had from interns and one-year challenge. I just want you to know. Percy, you've made a huge impact on the church. You say you've learned from us, but we've learned so much from you. We're going to miss you, but the way God's family is, we don't really lose you at all, and I know you'll be visiting us often.
Yeah.
Yep. And I know you'll be spending time with my daughter Jess in Joburg, which is going to be awesome. But I also want to ask you, if you had to leave us with one word of encouragement, or how would you like to encourage the church before you leave?
I think that you can never grow in love enough. I don't think that except Jesus, there's no one who could ever say I excel in love. And I think that PE Church loves deeply, but I think it can never be enough. And my biggest encouragement will be to love with grace, but definitely to love with truth as well. It's a very important aspect that goes with love. So I think that would be my encouragement, that you continue as well to love people like you have loved me. And I was here for Jared's farewell, and what he said was how he felt so loved by you, and I feel like I'm also saying the same thing, that I felt so loved by you, and I'm so grateful to have met, for all the meals, the free meals, just the encouragement and the advice and the friendships, and I don't know, just going beyond what you're called for me has been really encouraging to me. So yeah.
Wise words from a wise lady.
Oh,
Continue to love in grace and truth.
yeah.
Thanks, Percy. Thanks so much.
Thank you.